Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining us today for our Amplify AEC 2022 Conference and Conversations live stream series, where we'll be talking all things Amplify AEC with specific speakers conducting sessions this year. I'm Kenda Salisbury, part of the Amplify AEC Planning Committee at FSMPS. This year, Amplify AEC is focused on bringing attendees together where we will create environments that include hands-on activities and engagement as we return to in-person events. I'm excited to have one of our BD marketing workshop, also known as Mind Meld sessions, speakers join us today as she talks about her session, The Roadmap to Crisis and Reputation Management, Preparedness, Response, and De-Escalation. With us today is lead guest speaker, Pamela Monastra.
Hi, Kenda.
Hi, Pamela. Her session focuses on how crisis and reputation management starts with a comprehensive plan, protocols, and policies for responding and due diligence toward de-escalation. She will teach you how to lead with confidence, influence, and poise in the face of the most challenging times. Pamela, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kenda. I'm excited to be here as well.
I'm excited to hear more about you and your session. So to start our conversation today, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you evolved into the position you're in right now?
Happy to. So if I go way back, I moved to Atlanta back in 92. I grew up in a very small town in Ohio called Chagrin Falls. And when I moved to Atlanta in 92, I actually started out as a reporter. And I worked for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution here in Atlanta. And that's a whole nother lifetime. But fast forward a little bit to 1995, I was recruited by then Georgia Governor Zell Miller to work on the 96 Summer Olympic Games. With the Olympic venues here in Atlanta, actually it was all over Georgia. So as far south as Savannah and as far north as Tennessee. And at the time, Governor Miller had the foresight and the vision to create a temporary state agency in which all 500 actually local, state, and federal agencies, law enforcement agencies, would report into. And he called it the State Olympic Law Enforcement Command. And at that time, since I was a reporter here in Atlanta and all over, they approached me to help them lead the communications and the media relations function for SOLAC. So I was brought on and charged with devising a plan, protocol, policies for crisis communications and media relations for SOLAC for the Olympic Games. And then on July 27th, 1996, it marked my first crisis. It was the bombing at Centennial Olympic Park. And we had many challenging situations throughout the Olympics, but to be honest with you, the Olympic Park bombing, which of course everybody knows and remembers, and if you think about the Summer Olympic Games, it's unfortunately the one thing people mostly remember. That truly was our only crisis, and it was sort of the trajectory for me. I never looked back to becoming a journalist. I kind of stayed on that path in the communications function. I stayed with the state for several years. I actually worked as a public information officer for the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, the director of communications for the Georgia Emergency Management Agency. Loved what I was doing. And in 2000, life was taking a different turn, and I was trying to start to have a family. And I ended up leaving the state at that time. And I started a small consulting business, and I focused on marketing and communications in the construction industry here in greater metro Atlanta area. Back then, and still today, obviously, but construction was huge in Atlanta. And it was a great time for me to start this small business. And I did it for 13 years, merging with one of my biggest competitors, managing through the downturn and the recession in 2008. But again, I stayed on for 13 years as a small business owner until I was recruited in 2013 by Skanska, one of the large construction and development firms. And I was hired on as a senior director and head of communications for the Mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. So everything from Maryland to Miami. and I was doing communications for all 4 of the business units at that time. So USA Building, so vertical construction, civil, horizontal, commercial development, our P3 business, which was infrastructure development. I was eventually promoted to senior vice president, head of communications for Skanska USA Building. And I had been a member of the USA senior leadership team since 2016. And in this role, among many other things, I was overseeing marketing from a traditional sense and communications. We had anywhere from 400 to 500 active projects at any given time across the U.S. and our 23 markets. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, yikes, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot, but Kenda, I'm not going to say or even give any inference that I did it alone. I had 4 incredible regional communications directors that worked across these markets. And the exciting thing is that you will get to meet 2 of those directors in my workshop. I'm super thrilled to have them be a part of this. But during these years, unfortunately, and in our business of construction, I saw a lot of crisis, ranging from the worst case scenario of an unfortunate fatality to critical situations, challenging scenarios with clients, community members, and stakeholders. It seemed with an organization that size, we seemed there was always something, right, in the communication side of things. But my career is now taken a new turn, which I'm excited to talk about or just tell you about briefly. In January, I started a new role with Clark Construction, and I'm Vice President of Acquisitions and Development for Atlanta and the Southeast. Really, and it's an exciting role. They've given me this business partner. His name is Brian Flagel. He's an executive with Clark. He's been with the company 27 years, and he's moved here. And I'm leading our business strategy and our market approach, marketing, communications, business development, community, partner, and client engagement for Clark Construction here. So it's an exciting time for Clark to be in Atlanta. And we've been working in Atlanta for 8 years, building some of the most critical, important structures for the city and the community. And now they've asked me to help them lead the office. So I'm really grateful for my new role here. And I believe it's the perfect blend of my work as a business owner for 13 years, and then my focus for the last 20 plus years in construction, and coupled with that. And so it's a fun sort of evolution of my career and a great new step.
Thank you. That was great. I appreciate that. I'm going to take you back a little bit to the start of the conversation here. You mentioned the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's pretty high level crisis management right there. Can you share what some of those experiences taught you? Perhaps what comes to mind is the situation you dealt with the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm happy to. It's so. Taking you even to the beginning. So the night of the Olympic Park bombing, my manager had actually sent me home early. We were all working like crazy long hours and days around the clock since before the Olympics in '95. Like it seemed like it was constant. And so that night she actually said, look, just go home early, just go enjoy the evening. I'll see you in the morning. And shortly after midnight, my beeper goes off. Of course, we all remember beepers.
Yeah.
My beeper went off, and it was the Associated Press. It was a reporter. And I called this reporter. And of course, they immediately asked me they wanted an official comment regarding the bomb that went off at Olympic Park. And to be honest, Kenda, I thought it was a joke. Because we had just been talking about how quiet it had been and that it was a perfect time for me to go home early. And this AP reporter was quite insistent, saying, Pamela, this is not a joke. There was an Olympic Park bombing, a bomb that went off in the Olympic Park. I immediately called my manager, and she's like, I guess this is not a joke. I'm showering. I'll meet you at the office. And at the State Operations Center. And, we immediately went to our playbook, and everything that they hired me to do, to work with the team and come up with policies and protocols, and what do we do if, and what if this situation happens or this scenario happens? How do we, what if we have to evacuate athletes? How do we manage all of the press? And we're not just talking, the 4 local TV stations that are here. This is an international media stage. So we were able to go to our playbook. We were prepared for several scenarios. Everyone knew their roles. Everyone knew where to be, who was the spokesperson, who was taking the lead on certain things. It was absolutely a chaotic time. Yes, I'm not going to say that it wasn't. Everything ran smoothly, but we had a plan. And we managed the crisis to the extent that was our responsibility as the communications team. And remember, this was a temporary state agency, right? So our partners were the FBI and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and ATF. And we know with any kind of situation like this, those federal agencies and the state agencies come in and take the lead. So it's just, we all knew at what point our roles kind of either shifted or moved and became a support versus a lead. But we were able to manage through that. So, looking back, I'd say, there was probably, if I were to say, I usually do things in 3, so you'll laugh as we go through this, but, I look at maybe three things that kept us all calm and on track and focus. And it goes to what I'm going to be doing in our workshop, but it starts with planning. So you need policies and procedures in which everyone knows and understands their roles. Then you need a playbook. So identifying potential scenarios, real and unexpected events, and even enterprise risks, so that you have a playbook upon which to act. Because if you think about it, if you sat down and thought of your enterprise risks, did a lot of people think about a pandemic? It's really about thinking about the real scenarios that you can envision on a job site, but then what are some totally unexpected ones? So having that playbook that gives you an opportunity to understand different case scenarios. And then the third one is actually being decisive, like being decisive in your decision making. And that's where the leadership and marketing communications, this is where it all ties in here, is being able to be decisive in your decision making and being confident in your delivery, in your direction, and having the influence to carry your organization and your team through this type of challenging moment. So really, it was the planning part that really helped everybody. Having that playbook that actually talked through different scenarios so that we could do it in real time. And then the decisiveness, being confident and having the influence to actually get your organization to move in the right direction.
I'd like to echo Holly Bolton's comment in the chat here. It's such an important reminder that we need crisis communication plans in our organizations and that we know how they work.
100%. It doesn't do anybody any good if you just have a crisis management plan and it sits on a shelf. If you're not training and if you're not doing simulations, if you're not reviewing it on a regular basis to make sure that all of the right stakeholders are involved and everybody understands their roles, then it's not doing anybody any good. And you're just leading yourself into chaos. And if you think about our, being in the AEC world, when a crisis happens, you want people to rely on instinct and understanding what their role is really very critical. So it's more important than just having it, but actually understanding it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. What interested you in this topic overall? How did you get started?
Well, God, how did I get started? So, it was interesting because I really thought I wanted to be a journalist. That's what I went to school to be. I mean, I wanted to be a reporter. And that's a whole nother conversation. That will take us another 30 minutes for me to go through that. But I realized within a few years, honestly, Kenda, that I wasn't cut out for it. And I found myself on the other side of the fence, and somebody taught me that. They were like, you were a journalist, so you're on one side of the fence, and then you jumped over the fence. And so you went from being reporter to asking the questions to now being the one answering the questions. And it felt like it was a natural fit for me. I felt comfortable. I felt confident. I was content in that role. Wasn't super comfortable on the other side asking some of the gotcha questions. It just wasn't in my nature. And I find in our role, it's a supportive role. So, it's a professional services role, like marketing and communications. So we're a champion for the organization during times of celebration, success, and recognition, which is awesome. But you're also the trusted one to lead in challenging times of crisis, chaos, uncertainty. So you have that balance and that juxtaposition, right? Of being that, you're a champion either way, right? But when everything's great and you have things to celebrate and recognitions, people to acknowledge, it's amazing. And then when it's time of crisis, you also need to be that champion for your organization. And I think for me, it was just in my nature to want to support others and help them work through challenges and to feel like I've actually made a difference. And one of my former managers once called me, she described me as being unflappable. And, as a communications professional charged with protecting and promoting, a brand, your company's image, your people, and your projects, that's probably the biggest compliment I've ever received in my entire career. So for me, I feel like I'm at home supporting others and managing through it, whatever it happens to be.
I admire you more than you know.
You're so funny.
I wish I could be unflappable, but that just doesn't happen with me.
I've had my moments. Don't get me wrong. There have been moments that I've become unflapped.
Without giving too much away about your session, what is one big takeaway you believe the audience will leave with that will really stick with them?
All right. One thing, I feel I want attendees to feel empowered. I want them to have the confidence, the influence, and the skills to lead their company, group, or organization through and out of any challenging or crisis scenario. That's one thing.
Okay. What's the best piece of professional advice you've ever been given?
Has asked this recently, in our roles, we have to be good listeners, right? You have to be able to watch people and to listen really well. So it's not about speaking up first. You never do that. It's not about speaking the longest, God forbid, or the loudest, right? Because then everybody's like, God, when will this person be quiet? But it's speaking with intent while being aware of the impact your words may have on the receiving end. So what I mean by is you may have the best of intentions, but if the impact you're having on someone is not what you hoped for or expected, then step back and consider your impact versus your intent. And you may need to find yourself adjusting your actions, your words, or approach. But I think going into any conversations first, being on the listening end, and then recognizing when you are speaking and you are sharing, be mindful of your intent versus your impact.
I'd have to agree with that a lot. What's the last great professional development / business book that you read and would recommend, and why?
Oh God. The funny thing is I was wanting to find this book the other day because I wanted to give it to somebody. I've given it away so many times and I just order it and send it to people that I used to work with and people that I work with now. But it's called The Traveler's Gift. Okay. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't. No, I want to.
From Andy Andrews. Okay. My brother-in-law gave it to me last year, and I couldn't stop reading it. And it's about the 7 decisions that determine personal success. And how they describe it is they say it will challenge you, inspire you, and give you 7 decisions that you can employ to determine your own personal success. The thing that I love about it is that, there's so many books out there, about, how to get, make yourself a better professional and all this. This book actually makes you step back and take a look at, I look at 3 layers, right? It's your personal, you personally, individually, professionally, and how you interact in your career, but then your family. So he takes you on this journey in such a creative way. So don't even read the description, because I didn't want to read. I just wanted to start the book. And I'm so glad I did, because I had no idea what I was getting into. And when I first started reading, I was like, wait, this is not at all what I thought it was going to be. And I couldn't put it down. So these 7 decisions are something that I read regularly, that inspire me every day. And it's a great book.
Thank you. I'm going to go pick that one up right
Yeah,
after we're
you
done
should.
here.
Yeah, you should.
I'd like to figure out how to make my business life and my personal life mesh a little better.
Yeah.
Let's see here. What job would you be doing if you weren't in your current role with Clark Construction?
Yeah. I would be running my family's nonprofit.
Wow.
My father died 4 weeks after being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And that actually, it was shocking this year. It was 20 years this April, and it was mind blowing. It was the hardest thing that hit me. And I thought, oh my God, it feels like yesterday, but it was 20 years ago. We started a family foundation, and we've been raising money ever since for early detection for pancreatic cancer. It's the 3rd leading cause of cancer deaths in men and women. It's the deadliest of all cancers with the highest mortality rate. There's no known symptoms. And there's no early detection. So that statistic is not going to change unless there is an early detection. So if I could do anything and I wasn't doing this, it would be just really taking a deep dive into that and focusing on helping to find an early detection for pancreatic cancer. Completely different than what I'm doing today, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I admire your family for starting the foundation.
It was what we were grief stricken. I mean, 20 years ago, the only person I knew that passed away of pancreatic cancer was Michael Landon from Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, a lot of people get cancer and they survive. They get chemo, they survive. And unbeknownst to us, we didn't know anything about pancreatic cancer. And 4 weeks later, we're planning his funeral. It was just like, you're still in shock. And we're like, how could this be? How did we not know? He had no symptoms. And it was crazy. So it's just something that we've started, and we're going to keep doing it. We support research at Johns Hopkins and Emory here in Atlanta, and we're going to keep doing it, and hopefully someday we'll find an early detection.
I hope so too. A lot. I'm going to switch a little bit to your session again.
Sure.
I would ask what you're looking forward to being in Atlanta. Since you live in Atlanta, what do you recommend that we do while we're there?
Well, first of all, y'all, it's July in Atlanta, so be prepared for the summer heat, and then be prepared for the air conditioning to freeze your butt off. So make sure that you have a sweater when you're indoors, and something light when you're outdoors. And I love Atlanta so much. I've been here since '92. I've seen this city just explode. There's so much to do from downtown to the Beltline, Ponce City Market, Krog Market. There's the aquarium, there's the World of Coke, there's the Centennial Olympic Park. If you wanted to go there's so many restaurants, great entertainment. If anybody, I'm serious, email me or hit me up on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to send you some recommendations for some crazy restaurants, everything from the best burgers to, a fantastic French restaurant and Vietnamese. So we have the gamut of restaurants here. It's pretty awesome.
If it wasn't July, I'd take you up on that. I don't think I'm going to be able to eat with all the heat.
You will with a nice cool cocktail, Kenda.
Okay, go. Phew.
But in reality, I am looking forward to seeing people in person. Like, that was so exciting to me. This is the first conference that I'll be going to that I'll actually be able to be with people and like network and connect, and that's going to be just crazy weird. So I'm really excited about being able to do that.
I've been to 4 conferences in the last 5 weeks, and I'm already tired of people again.
Did you say tired?
Yes. And I do business development. And
That's so funny.
I'm kidding.
Of course you're kidding. We weren't recording this, or nobody's watching. This is just you and me talking, Kenda. Just you and me.
Don't give my secrets away.
I won't.
How would you describe your session in 3 words?
All right. So one of the words you've heard me mention, so it's champion. I want everyone to walk away, be a champion. hopefully I think it's going to be revealing and actionable.
Okay. I'm ready for some action. Communications action.
Right, 100%.
What do you think the biggest change in the marketing industry will be into 2023?
It's interesting because Forbes does this big thing about the biggest trends, right? And they talk about privacy and influencers, experiences, and even the metaverse. So I think for us, the way I look at it, I think advertising is going to be challenged by privacy. With modern digital aids are heavily reliant on data to automatically optimize. So the new privacy regulations with the ISO update and pending removal of cookies, it's been reducing that data used by AI. So I think marketers are going to should assess the impact of that and really kind of understand what they're getting with their advertising and be a little bit more proactive. It's interesting on the line of influencers. I know they're saying it's continuing to grow in the B2B. So I think that's something that maybe will be interesting to look at and harness this trend. So marketers should look for opportunities to partner with influencers within our space. I think that is something that we could all take a look at. But I think one of the biggest things, Kenda, that I feel is present today, but is going to continue to grow, is a focus on experiences. At every stage of the interactions with our customers, every part of digital marketing and everything that we're doing across the board, even from a BD standpoint, right? So to stay relevant, marketers should really provide a user experience that customers want, and their content will be less visible.
Well, that's given me some things to think about. Partnering with an influencer, becoming one myself. There you go.
Look at that. See? I'll be your first follower.
Yes.
You got one.
I guess I have to clean up my social media then. I'm kidding. Well, I appreciate your time today, Pamela, and thank you, everyone in the audience, for joining us. If you were not able to get your questions into the conversation today, I encourage you to attend Pamela's session.
Yeah.
So I would say please be sure to register for Amplify AEC, taking place July 18th through the 20th, this summer in Atlanta, Georgia, where Pamela is right now.
Yay!
Make sure you check out this session in person on Tuesday, July 19th. Starts at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's called The Roadmap to Crisis and Reputation Management, Preparedness, Response, and De-Escalation. If you still haven't registered for this event, do yourself a favor and register right now. You can see the banner at the bottom here. Hold on.
Yeah, I see it right there. It's going.
For more information and to register, simply go to amplifyaec.org. Thanks again, Pamela, and to the audience, and I'll see you all in Atlanta in July. Bye.
Thanks, Kenda. See you all in Atlanta.